Welcome and a very good evening to all our participants and panelists. So here we are back with our third episode of Parents Say Parent Talk for and with the parents under the banner of the Green School, Bangalore. Bangalore system was always favorable since its inception towards technological adaptability and innovation in the practice of pedagogy. Mrs. Usha Iyer, the director of Green School Bangalore and the Bangalore School, initiated the series of workshops and webinars, considering it as a way to collaborate and as well as a responsibility to share insight with the education and parents community. Mrs. Usha Iyer is a seasoned educator with over 35 years of experience in the field of education. She has been awarded as the most influential STEM educator and ambassador from India. Indeed, a proud moment for all of us. So I will definitely congratulate Mrs. Usha Iyer for the same. Mrs. Iyer also believes that educators are constantly required to evaluate, review, and renew strategies of teaching. With this in mind, every Sunday is dedicated to webinars to bring together parents, teachers, and several educators from the different fraternities in the country for a heart-to-heart talk shows or weekly webinars and workshops, including DIY and STEM workshop for parents, children, and definitely for educators. To know more about experiential and mind-on learning on Tuesdays and Thursday, the art of storytelling, which is known as a Katha Sangrah workshop, every Wednesday with renowned storytellers like Geeta Ramanujan and Sonal Chavra, and many more. So here I am, Priyanka Singh, principal of the Bangalore School. And I'm really feeling very proud that we all are going to start our to parent talk show. So let me introduce our first panelist of the day, because I know you all are eagerly waiting for the same. So the first panelist is Mrs. Kalpana Mohan. I think I don't need to introduce her because we all know who is she, but still, as a part of host, I will do it. So Mrs. Kalpana Mohan is a teacher by profession, hailing from Bangalore, India, with 32 years of teaching and administrative experience. She is the former principal of Vidya Shilp Academy and academics director of PNC Cognitive, being a certified programmer leader by Cambridge University from London, definitely. She trains teachers for Cambridge International Diploma for teacher and trainers and already was 60 successful trainers under her guidance. She is the co-founder of UV Emerge Your Gurukul, which provides solution for all educational issues and concerns under one roof for parents and educators, and a renowned academic consultant. Now, I'm sure you want to know who's the second panelist. But before that, welcome to the talk show, Mrs. Kalpana Mohan.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. It was a wonderful being here today. And thank you, Usha. And it's going to be a very beautiful and fruitful discussions coming up, I feel.
For
Thank you.
us, it's always a lovely learning from you, Kalpana ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's move to the second panelist, which is Mrs. Anju Charan, a very beautiful young educator. So Mrs. Anju Charan is a passionate about shaping and developing young minds through the WOW Centers for South Asia and co-founder of AJ Slack Adventures, where she focused on early years learning and development. Also, passionate about the world of arts. Wow, very interesting it is. Anju leveraged theater to tap into the pool of creativity that is both, an interesting and a stress buster. So welcome to the talk show, Anju. It's really lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm sure we are going to learn something new from you today, especially
I hope so.
there is a theater concept is in, and as well as the early childhood learning. So I'm looking forward. Now,
Thank you.
the third panelist of the evening. Before that, let me tell you that it's a drizzling Bangalore today and a drizzling evening. So the third panelist is Mr. Pranay Oshwal, a self-driven and a seasoned professional. Pranay Oswal's passion for contributing to the larger good of society manifests when he effortlessly managed business and education, seeking to develop and deliver specialized programs that fill much needed gaps in India. Wow. So he is very much focused for Indian education system development. He is the founder and managing director of IQ. Pranay also leads from the front line as the territory head at the Early Childhood Association of India, PCMC Pune District Chapter, and an active committee member of ECA India. He has been awarded the Nation Top Performer Award All India, the highest revenue generator All India, City Top Performer Award Pune for 24th months in a row by Times of India Group. So warm welcome to today's talk show, Mr. Pranay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priyanka.
Looking forward to resolve a lot of concerns related to NEP with you. So let's move to the next panelist, our very own Mrs. Manju Chakravarti, Middle School Coordinator and Admin Head at the Green School of Bangalore. A postgraduate in economics and education professional with over 12 years of experience in academic supervision, school administration, and pedagogical research over the past 12 years in the education services. Manju has served in a various leadership schools. So she has also served her research, which has been published in various national magazines. So welcome to the talk show, Manju.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. Thank you so much. Indeed, it's going to be a very insightful evening for each one of us who have joined here. I welcome everyone and a very good evening.
So I know most of our attendees are looking forward for this talk show because the topic itself is very interesting. NEP, we have a lot of doubts, lot of confusion, and several myths around it. So I'm sure all the parents present in the show or the people, those who are watching it live, they are going to resolve their issues today and their doubts will be cleared. So let's start the show with Mrs. Kalpana, the one who's not only the senior, but the sincere one also. So Kalpana ma'am, I have a question for you, which we all want to know, as the new NEP correlates to 2030 education goals, with the changes in the pedagogy and the curriculum, which has to meet international standards. So can you foresee a lot of similarity in the PYP, CBSE and ICSE? Now that digital literacy plays a major role in Indian pedagogy, how do you foresee education in the future in India?
Yeah, Priyanka, thank you for that question, because this is one of the things which we have been doing long ago in one of the places, or the places where I worked. I believe technology is one thing which is going to supplement and complement what the teachers are doing. You cannot have any replacement for the teacher, that's for sure. But one thing I want to talk about is the futuristic, what we are talking today. If somebody has asked in the month of February or January that we are going to have online classes, all would have laughed. Children we would have told, wow, what is this you are talking about? It's not going to happen in India. It's so difficult and things like that. In 10 to 20 days, the transformation from a normal classroom to the online classroom has happened. And it is not only happening in urban areas, it's also happening in the places where you can't even think about, remotest villages. Why it has happened? Because the need is a need of the hour, create opportunities. Today, we are not ready to go out. We are not supposed to go out. There were lockdowns and we are actually were really scared that what will happen if we go out and sit together and without social distancing. So that was the challenge. And it brought in technology to play a very major role, and we all have adopted to it. Now, the new education policy, I will not call that is on par with other countries' education, but I'm going to say if it is implemented properly, it's going to be one of the best in the world, because it is a culmination of two very best education policies, particularly starting from Finnish model, Japanese model, and that's supposed to be the best today. All the models, they have just adopted some of the very salient features and they have just plugged into our policy. First and foremost, I can say the thing is that equal kind of syllabus all the boards will have. It will be a singular way of looking into syllabus. The second very important thing is a language policy, which says it's not forcing, but it is advocating language, mother tongue teaching. I want to share something because I was born and brought up in Chennai, and I had my early years of schooling up to 11th grade in Tamil medium. And I am very happy to say that it has not stopped me from going anywhere. And I can think in my language, I understand the meaning of everything. And that's why I'm able to do so many things without any hitches, because I can think in my language. So the kids can have that kind of language policy, but it's not forced. And again, I want to say one more thing in the language is that it's no way it's a forceful thing if the children are going to learn more than 2 to 3 languages before 8 or 9. Even starting from Socrates and our own Chanakya and our Sigmund Freud, everybody has told that first 10 to 11 years, children can learn more languages. So our education policy, which if it is implemented, it's going to be very, very good. The third and most important thing is that multidisciplinary teaching. That's what is advocated in our new education policy, which is basically starting from Finnish model of education, which I advocated all the time. So Finnish education model says that the children should not see subject as subject. They should see subjects are interdependent, not independent of each other. To be exact, to be like, if at all we take one physics class and math class, in mathematics, the children used to do high-level calculus, this, that, differentiation and all. But when it comes to physics class, even the smallest of that least count calculation, they struggle because they are not able to connect between math and science. So that is where this particular policy is going to work. And one more is choosing that subject after 8th grade and getting into the stream where the children want to. The moment we say drop math, drop science, there is a lot of hangama created by the parents. They always say, oh, without math, my child, how will they do? But now I want to tell you, ICSE allowed it, and I had always given it in the schools where I work, and kids are doing very, very well without maths. It's not that we should not. I'm not advocating stopping math and all, but if I'm going to struggle because of math, I'm failing in other subject, why I will carry it? Which is going to be a burden for me. Those things are coming in with new education policy, which is advanced than the other. US, I visited UK, I visited all the schools in Europe, and of course, Bangkok and Finland. I've done all the things. But I feel the interdisciplinary teaching is the best methodology where kids can really have some kind of knowledge. All these things put together, the education policy, and I want to underline, if implemented as it says, is the best. It will be a best honor, best amongst the world. I mean, all the other policies in the world. One small doubt is here is the amount of emphasis which is giving on training of teachers. Will it happen in the country like that, like us? So that is one of the key factors which I have a doubt. And second important doubt is how much ready our so many billions of people in India are going to take it. Because we are always have the mindset of CBSE, ICSE, Cambridge, that, and end of 10th grade examination. These two are very, very crucial, how we are going to make it happen. So the questions are unanswered, but it's not so difficult to answer. As far as I am concerned, I've been there as a teacher for 37 years today. I see this as a very, very wonderful initiative beyond any other education policies of the India itself. This is one I'm seeing as the best one coming up. Maybe I wish that I would have studied in that kind of education policy.
Wow. Good to know your view, Kalpana ma'am. So as you said, ma'am, you have gone through the curriculum for, from Finland, US, UK, other countries as well. And after comparison, you feel that this NEP is one of the best if we follow what has been written, what has been asked to follow. So It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I can say it's a
That's a $1
positive.
million question.
Yes, ma'am. I think it is the positive news in this Corona time, right? That NEP is giving us the opportunity to be updated and to be ready for future, for 2030 or 2040 as well, right, ma'am? So after, listening all your suggestions and your view, ma'am, I will move to Pranay because it's leading me to my next question. So, Pranay, as NEP says that ECCE is the greatest and most powerful equalizer and has given the highest priority to building strong foundation early in a child's life. How do we intend to have more kids enroll at young age? Because fine, being an educator, we all know that this should, happen and we need to take care of that. But how to do it? Can you please throw some light on it, Pranay?
Sure. Thank you very much, Priyanka. And good evening, everyone, once again. It's always a pleasure to connect with everybody from Bangalore because I always believe, and I always have told this on multiple platforms, that Bangalore has always been my karma bhumi. I've studied my master's from Bangalore. But coming back to your question, Priyanka, which strongly says that how do we intend to have more kids? And it has been said a number of times. But let's go back into history before we talk about the present day, right? So the very first policy under the erstwhile Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, which was in 1968 by Dr. Daulat Singh Kothari, which went on planning, and plus, there were a couple of corrections also which were later done in 1986 by the Rajiv Gandhi government. And we must congratulate, and we should be all proud of the fact that this happens to be the first education policy, the first national education policy of the 21st century by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan and his committee. And we must say that as a scientist, he has taken an enormous amount of efforts to come up with this. But the questions which really worry us now is before we start and again reiterate the fact that how do we intend to have more kids enroll at a young age, the first question over here is to understand first what is it that we need to address first. We have 4,000 cities in India. We have over 6.49 lakh villages in India. We have more than 15 lakh schools in India. We have over 30 crore students in India. We have over 80 lakh teachers in India. Our overall GDP is around 146 lakhs crores. The new education policy is saying that we need to put in 6% of our GDP. That comes around 8.7 lakh crores. But technically, if we try to answer all these questions, before we do these things, the entire education policy 2020 drafted by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan is only telling about what to do, is only talking about what is to be done. There is not a single page, there is not a single para, there is not a single sentence in this entire document of these 65 pages, which is saying how to go about it and how do we fix a roadmap about it. There are a lot of terminologies which I've been telling about. We are proposing this, we are proposing that, we are doing these things. As Mrs. Kalpana also mentioned that, that we have adopted a lot of practices. We have taken inspiration from Finnish education. We have taken a lot of inspiration from the European nations. She also mentioned about the native languages, wherein she was trained in Tamil in Chennai. But still, I mean, after listening to her for the last couple of minutes, I think she's remarkable, and her experience in the last few minutes talks much more than everything that she needs to even talk further. But the bottom line is, what is it that we need to do? The first thing what we need to primarily understand is the whole education policy. We must incorporate a very strong play pedagogy, number one. Play pedagogy is something for children, but at the same time, what is also needed is andragogy. When I say andragogy, it actually means training our adults, training our teachers. Because we cannot always talk about play pedagogy, we need to talk about andragogy as well. At the same time, this entire approach which we need to have it to make sure the admissions are going up, the approach should be more holistic, it should be more inquiry driven, it should be more experiential, it should integrate more discovery based and more learning oriented education. Apart from all these things, there has to be a lot of introduction of arts, crafts, games, fitness, sports, and other things which are completely making this holistic. At the same time, what is also important is the whole goal is to reach this by 2030. But at the same time, it is also further saying and challenging its own argument that it is planning for 2040, not 2030 alone. Correct? If we read it very carefully. So these are few things. So one of those things is to make sure that we have one thing. The best thing about this is all these years they're only talking about education from 6 to 14, and this time they have included from age 3 up till age 18. So, and they are also going to include the NCERT syllabus, which is also going to use and include a lot of 21st century skills. But that is another boon in the current education policy. All right. And one very important thing here is we need to make sure interest and ability, they both go hand in hand. We should not be going about only focusing on just one point, which Mrs. Kalpana just mentioned about, was multidisciplinary model. So today, let's say if they are all promoting and they're talking about these, but the biggest challenge which I see is, let's say if we are taking some inspiration, let's say if AIIMS is talking about medicine today, or if the IITs are talking about engineering, okay, or if we are talking about the IIMs who are talking exclusively about MBA, if at all these schools are focusing from their main subject and going towards economics, or let's say if you're asking an AIMS professor to talk about humanities and talk about arts, it is not going to really happen. At the same time, if you're going to talk about the IITs and tell them teach economics, teach liberal arts, that is not going to happen, because there are certain specialized universities in our country, starting from Ashoka University, starting from Symbiosis College, then we go towards Flame University in Pune. So these are primarily talking and they are focused only on that. So those cases, it might be a big disaster if we try to include a multidisciplinary approach over here. Yes, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Pranay. So after talking to you, it's a completely a new, prospects has opened in front of me. So thank you so much for hitting the very correct track, because we should also know, what is good, what is bad, and what should be done, right? So as you said that, we need to involve, or the people, especially Mr. Kasturi, who has come up with this policy, needs to add play pedagogies, right?
True.
Also,
Yes.
you said andragogies, and it's not only the playway method, but the way we follow our constitution, the same way we need to take all the best things by keeping our kids' development in the mind. And we should not only target 2040, but 2030 is the next in line. So we have to talk about it. We should have the plan about it. Now, as per you, as per your view, what I have understood, that NEP is definitely talking what, but how is not at all clear, right?
Nowhere.
Priyanka, if you allow me, I can just say one addition for.
Please.
Sure, ma'am.
The thing is, it does say how, because there is a place where it is talking elaborately about training of teachers. In fact, the entire process is based on how teachers will be empowered and how teachers will be trained. Because as I was telling about Finnish model and multidisciplinary model, it's in Finland, the most paid people are the teachers, and the most difficult task is the teachers, and they are trained in a different way. So it's not that I don't have any other job at home, so I go to teaching. It's not going to, that's what he has told very clearly. In that,
Yes.
it's not only Kasturi Rangan, there were some 6 to 7 good educationists. This time, every time when they make education policy, there were no representation from education department or education field. But this particular panel had good educationists who had got vast experience and taught in schools and colleges. That's one of the very key factor of this panel. Okay. So they are actually told everybody is that, like, we need to make teachers ready for teaching. So that is there in that. So how is that is the answer. There is, we cannot keep spoon feeding and hand holding all the time. We empower the people who are executing. That's why I made if implemented properly. That's I underline. So the implementation will happen if the teachers are trained and the policy speaks about it.
Yes,
Another interesting thing, Mrs. Kalpana, which you just mentioned, right? Our training budget in 2019 was 150 crores, right? And it's not just recently that they're saying that they're going to allocate 6% of the GDP for education and training the teachers. They have been talking about this since 1968. It's not something new. But if we really look into it, if we really put a lens into it, the actual spendings which are going on for the overall training of teachers is not beyond 3.5 to 4%. Now, moving again towards the same question which you mentioned over here is, if teachers are given the training, if these are all national, NCERT is all about national, right? So we are also going to talk about something happening at the state level. Who will monitor the funds? How will the funds reach? Who will keep a track on this? Because nobody and nowhere it is said in the entire policy. How will that? Because it doesn't really work purely on announcements, purely on certain beautiful jargons which are used throughout. Because the first suggestion which you said, right, the amount of, there has been zero objection on this policy so far, broadly speaking. Because first, when they announced it in 2019, when they rolled it, they gave them around 6 months to submit. Eventually, they couldn't submit in 6 months by the Kasturi Rangan committee. They took 23 months precisely to submit these recommendations. At the same time, the amount of recommendations they got and the advices that they got, initially they got 65,000, but later after 19 months, one of the suggestions which was given was also by us, because last year, when we were present for the roundtable conference at Bangalore for the TIDAC International Conference, so we had presented to the government of India during the roundtable about what is it that we need to do. So amongst those 2 lakh suggestions which were given, few of the educators like us, we have played a minuscule part in that. And we should be very proud of it that this time they have really taken into consideration a lot of stakeholders directly and indirectly involved into it.
Yep.
Definitely, this NEP deserve a pat on their back, because they have, first time at least, they have listened to the people who are actually taking care of education and worried about its future, and also
Sure.
taking
And it's just,
care, you know.
it is
So
just
thank you
17
so much,
days
you know,
actually.
Pranay.
It is just 17 days, I think, for that the new policy is rolled out. I think we should just give it some time to breathe.
So thank you so much, Kalpana ma'am and Pranay, because this conversation is turning much more interesting, and literally I want this to be the never ending conversation, but the time constraint is there. So
Sure.
let me move to Anju, and before that, thank you so much for putting forward your view, because it matters a lot, right? So let me move to Manju now. So Manju, Anju, I'm so sorry. So Anju, can you throw light on the preschool sector, because we are talking about NEP, but the early childhood matters, because the question which I have asked Pranay, there also the concern was how we can start taking care from the childhood, you know, from the early childhood, right? So Anju, I want to know from you that this new NEP, this NEP says that standalone preschools need to be affiliated to NCERT. And as we know, many preschools are shut shop because of not being able to sustain. So do you think they will bounce back? They will not like it, you know, that they have to go through this registration and all?
Okay, so I think there are a couple of questions there that you have put forward. So I'm just going to see, I think one of the things you didn't mention along with everything else is that I also used to run a preschool chain called the Alchemy Nursery, which has been taken over by a French group.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Great, great.
So when I look at NEP, what they have, the vision they have for early years, you know, for 3 to 8 years, is a lot of it is what I have tried to implement in my nurseries. So I'm actually very impressed by the vision which NEP has. Just to give a quote, they have said, they've said that the foundational stage is very, very important, and stressed on the importance of 3 to 8 years, which was not there in the earlier policy. And I've just written down one of their quotes from their policy. Access for children aged 3 to 8 years for a flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based and activity-based education is of utmost importance. So that way, the vision is definitely, it's in par with, you know, what all the other countries like the Finnish education system, all those education systems are trying to do, right? So, so to that extent, it is good that we have these policies in place. So if you look at it, the preschool sector in India was an unorganized sector. People, you know, there were no governmental control over any of the play schools or the preschools. Anybody could open a preschool. People were running play schools from one rooms with 400 square feet and 200 square feet areas. So that is that's definitely should not be allowed, if you ask me. So this way, with NCERT insisting on an affiliation for all preschools, it is definitely a very good thing. It's going to bring certain standards. It's definitely going to raise the bar for play schools and preschools in India. And it's going to bring a certain standard for three things. One is care, which is very important. It's as important as learning and development for the early years. So care, learning, and development. It's gonna bring a certain standard. That said, I completely agree with Mr. Pranay and Kalpana ma'am. You know, how do you implement it? How long is it going to take for it to come into, for it to actually happen? It is said again in NEP, how are they going to train the teachers? They do have a vision in place. At least it's all there in writing. We're going to train all the teachers in the Anganwadis, the preschools. It's going to be carried out jointly by, 4 different governmental organizations. So it's all there in writing. Of course, if we implement it, it would be fantastic, because the vision is definitely, it's in place, it's in line, it's definitely going to help. And I also really appreciate the vision that this early years education should be available to each and every child in India. Whether they're going to a smaller school, bigger school, whatever it may be, it should be available for all children. So yeah, so to that extent, yes, it is. They definitely have a great vision. And one of the things they haven't said is how are they going to complete this cycle? Are they going to be quality checks? All those implementation factors is something like Pranay said. It's only been 17 days since this has come out. So this we can debate about it, but I think we'll have to really wait and see how they're going to implement all this. And probably people like us can also play a role in making sure that this, implementation is done better. Mm-hmm. So coming to your 2 questions. One is, how are these preschools going to bounce back, right? So, how are the existing preschools going to manage? Right, Priyanka? That was one of your questions.
Correct. Yes, Anand.
Yeah. So definitely, I think there are many things. One of the things which none of us foresaw was the new normal with COVID-19. So currently, almost all the preschools are shut. They're obviously not allowed to operate. So when they are going to be allowed to operate, well, one of the things is they'll obviously have to assess how they're going to, now they have to affiliate with NCERT. They'll have to look at what they're currently doing in their preschools and meet the standards. And if they want to continue, that I'm assuming. I also read in the NEP, they had this clause or which says that it's optional, changes are optional, something like that. So I'm not very sure, if there are, it looked like a loophole, it looked like there is some kind of a flexibility for private schools or private preschools to kind of maybe do things a little differently. So, but I'm really hoping that all the existing preschools, if they can assess and see if they can meet the standards, and then roll out their schools as and when they can, hopefully by the end of the year or maybe by middle of next year. And looking at, now coming to the fact of COVID-19 being around, and because of that, we have this whole new normal. So once vaccines come and the community spread is under control, I think, there would be some amount of normalization. And I think the other big change which has happened in our communities is that a lot of parents have started working from home. So which means that there is more parental involvement with the children, and hence, how would that kind of come into play, when it again comes for the preschools to be starting, how many of them would be opting to send them again for some time. So that is again something we have to keep in mind. And I think and for more, and I think the other question which was put forward to me was, would new schools be mushrooming? Would we see more preschools starting up? Well, I think that's definitely going to be curbed, because anybody who's going to start a new preschool are definitely, they've realized that there are more new rules and regulations in place. You have to be affiliated to NCERT. There are they have to understand the preschool sector better. They have to understand early years education better before they enter this industry, which again is a very good thing, because I think people who enter into, like ma'am was saying, Kalpana ma'am was saying, it has come to a point where a lot of people just sign up to become teachers, especially in early years, because because they're at home and they have nothing else to do. I mean, that's a very blunt way of putting it, but yes, that is happening. So that has to change, because we have to realize, the government is realizing that the first 8 years are the most important years in a child's life. It's the formative years, and it can make a big difference. And that said, even the teachers, the quality of the teachers has to be such that they can actually make a difference to the children. So yeah, so to that extent, would we see more schools mushrooming? Maybe not. Would we see the quality of the existing preschools going up and becoming better? I definitely think so. And I definitely think that this policy being in place is a step to a better education system in India. I mean, I'm just covering the early years education. Definitely for the early years education, I think this is going to make it better.
Thanks, Anju. As you rightly mentioned about NEP, that
Yeah.
is the first time when they have focused on early childhood. So definitely credit goes to all the educators, including Pranay, who have put their, voice for the same. So yes, as a part of early childhood, I also appreciate this, and thank you so much for letting all of us know, in the sense that all the attendees, those who are in the call. So you also said that how is definitely there, but the protocol has to be written and need to be shared, so that we all can start following and can start understanding how it will work and what will be the outcome. Right? So accordingly, we should start working on that. So after listening to Pranay, to Kalpana ma'am, and to you,
If I may add one more point.
Yes, Anju.
I think at least if you look at many preschools in India, I mean, I would say this is more in the private sector, such as the Green School and many other preschools in India. They definitely, their vision is in place with what NEP is mentioning, play-based learning, activity-based education, multi-level education. So it is definitely I think it's more of
method of teaching has to be included. The interesting method.
I think the government definitely needs to now come back and say, how are they going to monitor the quality? It's good to have all this in place, but there also needs to be a way to ensure that it's probably more in the Anganwadis, etc., where they need to work more with the teachers to ensure that this kind of teaching methodology is being executed. But also there needs to be a good quality check mechanism for all preschools, whether standalone preschools, private, public, whatever it may be. So I think if that is done, then yes, we can definitely say that we're going to raise the bar.
Yes, correct. So as Anju,
yes. I'm not communicating.
Sorry about that, Priyanka. If I can just chime in over here, Anju, to answer your question, there's one good thing about the new education policy is it is mandatory to spend 50 hours of quality professional development training for every single teacher, irrespective of whichever cadre they are coming from. That is number one. And number two, you mentioned about the amount of trainings and all. So it is going to be absolutely essential, and it is going to be absolutely mandatory for all the teachers to go through the national assessment test multiple times during the year. So that has been covered. There was one loop. How do you check? Because once a teacher is done the degree, she starts training. There are a lot of education chain of preschools primarily, if I have to broadly talk about that. Couple of them being Shamrock, couple of them being Hello Kids, couple of them being your Podar Jumbo Kids. So they have over 500 branches each. Something like a Podar Jumbo Kids and Shamrock, they have more than 700. Podar with 498 alone. So when we talk about all these brands, right? So now all those who have been running in those 200 square feet flats, or those ground floor bungalows or those villas where they are functioning from, it is not going to be, it is going to be time for them to buck up, take
Yes.
professional development trainings, and not somebody now just because I'm done with my training, or if a housewife is saying and talking to a husband, that I need some extra money to run something because I'm sitting idle. So this is not going to be like that, because not everybody can be a teacher.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Exactly.
agree with you. I agree with you, and that's where I'm happy with this new policy coming in place. Completely in line with you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as
I
you said,
really-
Anju and Pranay as well, that this NEP is wonderful. The NSCRT concept is great because now it will be a quality education with the quality environment and the proper, school infrastructure as well, because that matters. As you said, there are many mushroom schools all around running in a one room or a 2 BHKs as well. I have seen, there are many schools, they are not even registered, but they do have the strength of more than 50 or 60, and the kids are running, going, and all that. I mean, we are definitely not, looking for our future. We are just, taking this education as a business and running it, which definitely this NEP has stopped. But as Kalpana ma'am earlier said, depends how we are following it. Because at the end of the day, everything depends on that how seriously we as an educator taking care of it, as well as the parents. Because being a parent, we also need to know the NEP and what is good for us being a parent. Because as I said, this talk show is about parent, that they should also understand the value of it and why the government has come up with this NEP, why they are stopping this mushroom schools running in a 1 BHK and 2 BHK. Because not only the government, but all the educators, we all want our kids, to learn better and to grow better, right? So let me move to Manju. So Manju, as Pranay said earlier, there are a lot of things need to be added, a lot of method needs to be followed when it comes to kids' education and their learning. So my question is going to be based on that, Manju, because you are the best person to answer that. So critical thinking, experiential and application-based learning, flexibility in learning, focus on life skills, and there are continuous review are some of the silent features of this new policy. So can you please brief about it, what it is and how it will work, or is just how, or they have written also that, how we can use it, not just that this is what, but I want to know how we can use it and how it can help to all of us.
Thank you so much, Priyanka, for this wonderful question. But I guess, today, all the panelists here can add to this question, because it is something wherein each one of us is trying hard, to make our curriculum, our pedagogy, our methodology so much fun and experiential for the kids, that each day we with our teachers are coming up with a new thought. So this is something definitely the NEP has, reinforced. And I won't say that our education policy earlier never said about experiential learning and all. It always did. It was just that to find ways, new ways. The generation is changing. We had to find ways to it. Now, coming back to that question, that what about critical thinking and all? Definitely, if you look at this, the goals that UNESCO has set by 2030, it is all focusing on this. Skill set which you just mentioned: critical thinking, communication skills, sustainability. These are all the skills, and among all this, education is one of the goal as well as one of the tool to achieve all the skills, to be very honest. And that's the best part about it. So I believe, again, the NEP has given us, a bigger picture. Now think again. We have come across new things during this pandemic, has put up a question, but again, as teachers, we have come up with solution through virtual engagement, also how experiential learning can reach to the kids. So we are finding the ways, we are coming up. Our teachers and everyone are definitely, doing the best job each day to make their learning so wonderful, so beautiful that kids can enjoy. And to be very honest, not only kids, let me be very honest, even the parents are enjoying these days. They themselves say that, okay, whatever activities you're giving to our kids, even we are doing along with them, we are also learning and we are enjoying. So I think this question, along with me, Kalpana ma'am, she's the best person to add to this. Ma'am, your thoughts to this? Ma'am, you're on mute. Yeah.
You are on mute, it seems. Yeah.
See, as a school and as it is not only primary or pre-primary education or anything. I'm not talking. Normally when teachers are teaching, even if they came to a profession by chance, not by choice, even then, most of the teachers are passionate. When I go to any training center and I train the teachers, I feel that kind of urge they show to learn something new. So when we have that idea of activity based learning, even online, is something which is really interesting, and the teachers do learn about it. As I told you, in 20 days they have done the wonder that they started learning no, the person who have never even seen what is meant by Zoom or anything, they learned it. So the way in which the teachers are trying to put across things to the children online, and of course face to face as active learning technique, both are really, as Manju rightly said, that parents are getting hooked to it. They said, oh wow, I want to do it too. But actually, when we used to send projects home, normally, if you look into it, up to stage of 6th grade, 7th grade, most of the things are assisted by parents. Like they put everything and give, and they are so excited. What do I do with my child? That's what is normally a question. But now today, because they are straight in front of them learning and the teachers are teaching, barring from few parents, the rest of them are excited. In fact, one of the parents, when we were talking, she said, I'm learning the basics well now.
Wow.
So those things are happening, and it's a very beautiful thing to happen. But one thing is, when we teach, when we have the idea to teach in a very different way with activities and making things interesting, skill-based, what we call it as, with communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and of course, creativity, all those things when we bring into the classrooms are definitely interesting. And the parent will appreciate it. And it's not that every time they find fault. And every out of 100, 4 or 5 always will be saying no. But the 96 or 95 people do appreciate. And we need those 5, 6 also to keep injecting. Oh, that's not happening, this not happening, it's fine. When somebody is not giving a correct opinion, we don't even, the sambar also won't taste good. We need to do a correct critical analysis. So that's how it is. The critical analysis is to be done from the people who comment, but appreciations, that motivates the teachers. So as Manju told perfectly, that teaching online, teaching with activity and teaching with skills is very important. Exactly. And that's what is happening. And I think it's, as Pranay was also mentioning, it's only 17 days, it's come now only. I'll tell you one thing. We have just started something. We have gone and started walking in the right direction. Yes, it will take time. It's not so easy. A country like India, if 2 people say yes, 10 people say no. And we need to give everybody that part of it and pat them. Oh, no, don't worry, this will happen. So many things have to happen. But we have taken the step. We are walking in it. So the moment, and yes, it will take time. It will take the mindset to change. It will have people to come in. The teachers, I'm talking about, they must understand that they cannot play around, but they need to be very clear of what they are teaching. They need to plan. They need to prepare for the classes, and they cannot just I'll take a book and read it out. So children are saying it's available in Google. Why I will see you? So these things are very important. Manju correctly said active techniques are very important. Technology addition is very, very crucial, but it will not replace the teacher, but it should be taken. That's what swadanusar. So technology swadanusar. How much ever you want, you have to add. So everybody will appreciate. Everybody will really, really do well.
Yep. Kalpana ma'am, your real life, experience and your real life suggestions which you are giving, either it is a sambar or a salt, it gives a real idea that, okay, this is how it will be, because we all are the person who are, very much grounded. So we understand it quickly when it, when such real life experience comes with a suggestion. So as you, Manju, as well as our other panelists, Pranay and Anju said, that now it's going to be the skilled teaching with the skilled teachers. It's not just the time pass teaching to some bugs.
No.
But one thing is, all the teachers, I'm telling you, they are not against getting trained. Exactly. They also want to do something well. I mean, it is out of 100 teachers, 90 are ready to learn. 10%, yes, every time there is one 10% all the time. And actually what I can say, I can tell what Steve Jobs said. Give the toughest job to a lazy person and they'll know how to do it quickly. So we can use them in that way too. So we can make that thing happen. What I'm very positive on that side, because I want to tell you, I'm a teacher by chance, not by choice, but I learned it in a different way. And I know the moment you see an anxious and curious kid in front of you, you just can't cheat. So that's how the things are. The passion comes with the amount of love and reciprocation of what I want to do for the country, the children, and something comes out. So it is there. Most of the teachers, they are having a lot of that. And I mean, I'm not going to say only teachers, the people who are running schools should inculcate that. Oh, no, my teachers have to be trained. So these things have to, this will be taking, it will take its own course, but I don't think it's going to take a long time, because everything is happening in quick succession. What was in 2000 is corrected by 2010. What was in 2010 was corrected by 2015. So what was in 2015 will be corrected immediately. The speed is increasing. So people are realizing we are going into the button is in the 6th gear now. It's just moving fast. So now that's how we have to work on. Why I'm saying this is because we don't have time to waste, but we have to give the time to get adjusted to. Both things have to happen.
Yes, Kalpana ma'am. Courtesy Corona, that it has helped our policy makers to realize that we have to be ready. We can be ready only if Padhega India, tabhi badhega India. So this is what we all have to follow. So Kalpana ma'am, I would like to ask one question, because I know you are the one who can answer it the best. So ma'am, there is the petition which seeks the setting up a National Education Council Commission and follows a one nation, one board system, in which the ICSE is merged with the CBSE, but it was rejected by the Supreme Court. So can you please throw some light on it, ma'am?
See, in India, I'll tell you something. We always have the mindset of going with the boards. Okay. See, we always think one board is better than the others. The state boards are not that very great. That's what we all think. But what has happened, if one government, see, most of the Western countries and foreign lands are having national education policy only. There is one education system. Even in private school, they have few private schools. Even there, the policy of the government comes into play. The schools can give something extra. That's not a problem. But the policy and the syllabus is being run by the government. If you ask any of the foreign countries, they say district-wise syllabus, district, school districts, they call it as. So now, what was wrong in that? So but our problem is, we have CBSE, we have ICSE, we have board, Anglo-Indian, metric, so many boards, it's a lot of confusion. Earlier, there were some kind of reservations given for tougher boards, so-called. ICSE is supposed to be very tough, low, so much of portions and things like that. Now that curriculum is going to be equal, why we need boards? We don't require. But if the boards insist, the Supreme Court actually, again, I'm now mentioning when Supreme Court is the one which is the topmost apex court, and we cannot say anything against it. But my humble suggestion is, today, if we look into the children's future and the children who are in rural areas, all those things together, put together, we must look into single board system. National education policy to the last child in the northernmost corner of the country and southernmost part of the country. Then we give we can bring in some kind of equality, and the training will be easier, because it's one kind of training everywhere, and it will be the way in which the children can be brought in, and the exams, if it's going to be one exam for everything, syllabus should be the same. If ICSE and CBSE want to continue, they will start with the syllabus which is given by the government, and additionally they can have something to call them some ICSE. The examination boards conduct exam, all are examining boards, CBSE or Central School or Secondary Education or whatever happened, they're all examining bodies. So those examining bodies should realize that they must have question papers or question answers, the correction, assessment, evaluation on the basis of differentiated way. It cannot standardize. One size fits all, we cannot have. Normal can be the setting in a washing machine, not for the children. So those things can be added very, very well in a very comprehensive way. And also what Anju said was absolutely no governing bodies. We have NAC, everything, ISO certification for colleges, but we need to bring it to the school level. Then we may have some kind of standardization. I do agree the boards are important, but I do agree we can still do without it.
Wow, very nicely said, ma'am, that, boards are required only if you want to follow the traditional learning, the bookish method of learning, where you are running like a horse, where you cannot see any side,
Blinkers.
Yes, exactly. So boards are required for that. But I think when we are targeting future, we definitely have to run like a horse, but not at all following the, the rule of that you just have to
Remove the
see
blinkers.
straight. Yes. we don't have
Everybody
to
say
do
out
that.
of the box. I say there should be
Exactly.
no box.
Correct, ma'am. Okay. So now, ma'am, I will move to Pranay. So Pranay, as NEP 2020, boldly state that if the stage-wise goal of foundation skills are not achieved by class 3, the rest of the policy is irrelevant. Would like to know your viewpoint about it. And also, I would, get back to Kalpana, ma'am, for the same.
Great. So one thing which is something which we all should be very proud about, and the same is also mentioned in the policy. It is talking about knowledge, which is Gyan. It is talking about wisdom, which is Pragya, and it is talking about truth, that is Satya. Okay. Now she also mentioned Mrs. Kalpana. She also mentioned a while ago about Chanakya and all. So we had the privilege of having world-class institutions like Takshashila, Vikramshila, Vallabhi, Nalanda. And at the same time, we were the ones who were responsible for producing great scholars and giving it to the world like Charaka, Shushruta, Chanakya, Panini, Bhaskaracharya, Aryabhatta, Patanjali, Nagarjuna, and many others who have done phenomenal contributions in the field of astronomy, mathematics, medical science, metallurgy, or navigation, or arts, or many others. But moving back, the state-wise goal is to make sure first is to remove, and it is very important and work on it effective immediately, is to remove rote learning and make sure that we are removing the learning only for exams mentality from the children. And one thing which I really liked about the Delhi government particularly is their current CM, which is Manish Sisodia, who has written about the current deputy CM, sorry, not the CM, the current deputy CM, who also happens to be the education minister, and he has authored this book called Shiksha, and wherein they have laid out exactly what is it that they have done in Delhi as a role model for other states. So if we can try to adopt certain models from our neighboring cities, from our neighboring regions, that is one of the most important things. All right, at the same time, it is very important for us to refer back to 1945 and refer to the Nai Talim by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and also later which was followed and improvised by Acharya Vinoba Bhave, wherein he spoke about Bunyadi Shiksha articles. Also, these are also included in Harijan. And another great educator, Gijubhai Badeka, he also wrote remarkably. In fact, he was one person who in fact took it to play pedagogy and took it storytelling till the age of grade 9. He used all these methods. So if we talk about all these things, the prime focus should be not go state-wise, but actually to go district-wise, to go village-wise rather. We have more than 2 crore students who have been dropped out of school at the moment. Until 2017, these numbers were around 3.15 crores. As of now, the numbers are around 2 crores. So the first goal is to make sure we bring them back to the current education society. Like Anju just mentioned some time ago, that this is more of a vision booklet. I call it the vision document. Okay. The NEP is the vision document. We just need to look at and actually reiterate the same thing phase-wise, step after the other. We are always talking about right to education. Nobody is talking about right to quality education. Principal right. Everybody should be given the right to education, and there has to be no substitute, irrespective of you being in an Anganwadi, irrespective of you being in a Balwadi, irrespective of you being in any part of the country, any part, be it a tribal area wherein there are certain Bal Vatikas over there, wherein they are running all their programs under those programs. So we need to focus on those things. And thanks to Corona, actually, what teachers could have taken 10 years or 15 years or 18 years to study, we have done this in precisely 100 days. So Anju also mentioned about topics like critical thinking. I think Manju, right? Manju also spoke about critical thinking, logical reasoning, verbal reasoning, linguistics, and other things to be included along with certain life skills. So you'll be surprised to know that we have authored 7 books already. Okay. So these are the books that we have authored under the brand name of iCube, and we are very well doing this for the last 7 years in the market. And the only thing is we are not doing it for playgroup at the moment. We are from grade 3 to grade 9. So irrespective of all these topics we are talking about, we have been fortunate enough that we have over 300 schools at the moment and more than 75,000 students who have already appeared for these exams under iCube. And we are coming up with another program through which all these teachers can enroll and they can go through any of our programs once they are a part of the same ecosystem. Another very important thing is we need to make sure that the teachers at the ground level are not just taking any bookish knowledge, but actually adopting principles from Froebel, principles from Vygotsky, principles from Maria Montessori, principles from Gijubhai Budeka, principles from Piaget and many other people, because they're not really referring to all these things, because only referring to one syllabus and adopting those things will really not help. Another important thing is to ensure Dr. Howard Gardner from Harvard University Project Zero, who happens to be the senior director there, he's one person who has strongly said that learning happens only in 3 ways. One is through auditory, second is through visual, and third is through kinesthetic. I personally vouch and I personally believe that kinesthetic learning is the new thing, and it will always be one of the most important things, because if we try to introduce skills like plumbing, skills like getting an electrician in the school, getting a car mechanic in the classroom, getting a carpenter in the classroom, and then he talks about all his experiences. Trust me, the same learning will happen, but at the same time, they will also be exposed to a lot of parallel professions in the same thing. So that is one personal recommendation I would like to talk about, and at the same time, give them introduction to all these skills at a very early age. That's one thing from my side. If we can do right away and with immediate effect.
So thank you so much, Pranay, for taking me back to history and talking about Gijubhai Budeka, well known as a Muchalima, and
Yes.
Once Upon a Story is one of my favorite storybooks as well. Also, I will request you that please start writing something for kindergarten as well, where the teachers can
soon.
use it and develop their skills. So
Very
please
soon.
work on that. Now, as
Very
you
soon.
said, you have also referred the book Nai Talim by Gandhi ji. So as you said, we are blessed to have such educators who were not just educator but the freedom fighter as well.
Had he not been a freedom fighter, trust me, he
I'm
would have
talking-
been a brilliant. He would
I'm
have been
talking
a
about Mr.
brilliant.
Gandhi, and yes,
Yes.
agreed with you. If he has not
Yes.
been a freedom fighter,
He didn't
then
have time to focus on education, because that's how he passed on his dream to Gijubhai Budeka.
exactly, he
Yes.
has taken it from him, and and definitely developed it a lot. So it's like we have the blessed culture when it comes to education, as you have given a few very nice examples of Nalanda and Montessori started by Gijubhai Budeka and all other stuff. Even Ravindranath Tagore was also the one who has taken care of the Montessori, by keeping the real scenario of India in mind. So this is what all the educators and school people, the principals, the teachers, we all also have to understand, that we have to understand the reality, the ground reality, and then we have to start adopting the NEP in a very correct manner. Yes, Pranay.
Yeah. One thing which all our viewers will be surprised to know, that it's a very rare thing which not many people are really informed about. One person who was responsible to start the IIT, right? And who was actually under the guidance of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, right? So he was a homeschooling student.
Oh, wow.
And that person was Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad. If you have to read about him, do read about him.
I will
If a
definitely.
person from homeschooling, if he can learn everything on his own, and if he can be responsible for starting the IIT, trust me, if we have a cell phone in our hands today, and if we have a data, trust me, we do not have a reason to complain. We do not have a reason to complain in today's times.
Thank you so much, Pranay. It feels like, as I said earlier also, I want this to be the never-ending conversation, because,
Priyanka, we have questions. I
Yes,
mean,
I do have.
definitely,
Manju,
He has a
this
lot of questions.
Manju, the question is for you, but before that, I would like all panelists to know that there are, attendees who are asking
Yes.
several questions. So if,
and they're eagerly waiting for answers.
yeah, so if I'm allowed by all the panelists, I will, start taking questions from there. Okay, so first of all, I would like to read out the Archana Ramakrishnan message. As per her, the panelists are great today. It's worth watching and very informating. Thank you so much, Archana. Even being a, moderator, even I'm feeling blessed that, my learning levels are increasing. So thank you so much, panelists. Now, so the questions. Ma'am, there is one question from one of the parents. Her name is Sharavati. I would like any one of you to take this, please. So she has the question that my child is in grade 9 now. How will this new policy help her? When can we expect that where we'll start following these policies?
Yep. Can I?
Yes, Kalpana ma'am, please.
See, any policy coming into it is not going to be implemented immediately. There will be a lot of discussion with governments of states, because normally the education is in our federal system, education is largely held by the states also. So we need to have a lot of discussions on with the state heads and state education departments and everything. And everything has to be set in, then only the policy will be implemented. So your child is in grade 9, let him continue what he was doing. We won't push anything, and we are into the situation where we are not going to schools. We are having only online classes and things like that. Let us not take any chances that currently continue as it is what you were doing earlier. By the time it has been passed, but implementation process will take time. So maybe next year itself they will start, okay, no 10th standard exam, 11th, they may go. But it's all depend on how fast these discussions with the state government and policies are implemented state-wise. So it will not be tomorrow. It will not be quickly day after tomorrow, whatever. It will take time, but it might come. So because it's already been announced, the government may not delay much, but it will not be very immediate. So you have to continue with what you are doing now.
Okay, thank you, Kalpana.
And one thing I want to add here is, like, some of the people have asked questions like how maybe we are going to take up. Should we go ahead with what we are doing? Should we put the children? And also Pranay brought in a system called homeschooling and some of the ancient thing. I just want to have only one thing. See, we are talking about Gurukul system. We are talking about learning skills. In fact, we founded UV Emerge for that purpose, learning Vedic math, learning so many things in the one platform, even mental ability and joyous schools and things like that. But everything towards the happiness of the child should be kept in mind all the time. So the happiness index, which is the watchword of UV Emerge, is that children should not feel pressurized when they are studying. That's one major thing we have to keep it in mind. So that is where the government policy might help. And one more is, our education policies are derived not from only few people in the medieval time. Our education policy dates back to long ago, and so long ago. I don't know how long ago. So that's what they say. We, in our own village, we always started looking, people caught our hand and put it in the river sand, because that Montessori of not stressing our psychomotor thing started very early in our system, in Indian system. So Indian system of education is actually plugged in all the NEP rules. The olden days, Gurukula system. So where predominant skills of the children can be patterned. I'm answering so many questions is there here. I'm seeing in my chat.
Okay,
so what is happening? The NEP is trying to plug those gaps and bringing in the what we lost, our past glory is being slowly coming inside. So where we need to encourage and we need to wait that to happen, but not so much, not very big wait. I feel it will come within, I think, probably a couple of years or whatever, completely on place.
So as we are running out of time,
the next question can be, if I request, Usha ma'am, if I request you to take, there is a question that what kind of, recruitment system has to be there, which is not focusing on marks, but on knowledge?
Yeah, hi, all of you. I think I enjoyed everybody's talks, and I was listening to it as well as my meeting was going on. Very sorry, I couldn't put my video on. And I could also see the questions which came up, and all the fans actually you should know the way you have handled the questions and the way you talked. So thank you, first of all, panelists, to be the panel and put up this. Answered so well. And I feel that there should be a continuous assessment, which is already there. There's a continuous CCE in NCRT, which happens. But I think apart, there should be an everyday observation the way the teachers should do, and normal education, I feel. Because even as online education is happening, there's a kind of a beautiful assessment which is they have come up with. And I think even Kalpana ma'am with UV Emerge has come up with a very beautiful assessment online, which I think she can throw light on this better than me, and can say that how the assessment, entire assessment, the gamut of assessment and the parameters can change. And it can be much more on the aptitude and the attitude and on the skills and the concepts of a child which is assessed rather than academic concepts. Don't you agree with me, Kalpana Mohan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Assessments are something which we have to work on in a very
Yes.
strong
So
way.
can you throw light on what are the various parameters that children could be assessed on apart from the academic skills? So you can throw the light on that and say that can we have a little change on the kind of assessments, and so that the pedagogy, whatever we have, that also will have a sea of change, because the how concept will come into picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can talk about it, Kalpana. You carry on. Yeah.
Please.
Thank you very much once again, all the panelists, and it has been a great evening, and we had excellent viewers. I could see about 40 to 50 people already on this, and there were a lot on the Facebook. So I was very happy the way the entire conversation has gone about. So thank you, Priyanka, for anchoring on behalf of me, and thank you, Manju Chakravarti, to have represented Green School Bangalore. So thank you all. Carry on. I still have a meeting. So I'm going back into my meeting.
Sure. Thank you so much.
As Usha asked, I'll just conclude with her whatever the comment I want to, because absolutely we are now running, we have overshot almost 15-20 minutes. So I just would like to say one thing, like the assessment part, what we are talking about. Assessment again should lead to knowledge improvement, and not to reprimand children who are not doing well. It should make the children to come up with the new ideas, new strategies, and new way of answering. All should be accepted, but it should not be like you got 20% and you need to get 30%. That should not be the assessment. And also we need to have complete rubric system where every individual child's knowledge and potential is assessed in a comprehensive way. And I can just give one example, is that potential is not 100%. A child can perform 80%, means it's not 80 mark. If it is one is 100, I can come up to 80, but I'm performing only up to 30. I need to be pushed from 30 to 80 is the teacher's job. So that is the gap we are talking about, and that is to be assessed in the differentiated way, and also with the proper rubrics. And assessment techniques must be formative most of the time. After finishing the lesson, after 3 months, if you are going to give the child bad and good and all, it is of no use. We need to have formative kind of assessments where you get the feedback immediately and correct it immediately. So these two things are very important for any schools to really look for the enhancement of knowledge of the children. Somebody asked for how you will fill the gap. We don't need to fill any gap here. Every child is individual. Every child is having their own agenda and intelligence. I mean, I don't call it as an intelligence. I can call it as potential. Every child's potential is different. If one is very good with art, another is very good science, and another is good in mathematics, nothing wrong in it. Everybody cannot do the same thing, and we are not running cloned one, and Chapa we cannot do. We have to have 1,000 children and 1,000 different children. Every single child is different, and every child, every human being is a miracle, because everybody's, even one hair is not equal to any other person. It's like that. So we need to understand that the child's potential, child's values, and give them that kind of motivation to make them happy. Finally,
if I may just, if I may just add, what you were talking was excellent, ma'am. I mean, that's exactly how we should be assessing the children. Each child is different. very different from each other, you know, what we call, you know, differential learning or differentiated learning, you know, where each child's skills and abilities is very different from every other child out there. And I think that is what is excellent about NEP, because NEP is recognizing to that extent in terms of, you know, its vision of, you know, children being assessed based on their specific skills and abilities. And the schools introducing a system where each child has the opportunity to develop their skills and specific interests.
Absolutely.
Apart from, you know, and not having, you know, every child coming in and putting them in a box. Like you said, there shouldn't be a box at all. And at least the way I see it right now with NEP, the policies looks like, you know, they definitely have the vision to for the box to be taken away completely. And yeah, as I keep saying, I think as long as we can execute it well and have a system, the government has a system where they can keep a track of every institution out there meeting the standards, I think we will do well.
So it was a wonderful,
fantastic. That was very good, very well put.
Yes, it was a wonderful discussion. Thanks to all the panelists for their valuable contribution towards today's Parent Se Parent talk show. It was indeed an enlightening and power-packed discussion, I will say, with you all, you know, which will surely help all the attendees and listeners to clear their doubt about NEP, National Education Policy.
Just my final closing remarks, Priyanka.
Yes,
I'm
Pranay.
so sorry about that. My final closing remarks. There's one thing which, had I been there, I mean, that's my dream to be a part of. I mean, that should be a part of the NEP, right? 2020. So I also said the same thing when I was in Bangalore when we submitted this during the roundtable conference over there. So I truly believe that every bureaucrat, every minister's son, every minister's grandson, daughter, granddaughter should only enroll in a Balwadi or an Anganwadi. In fact, why just Anganwadi and a Balwadi? There should be a mandate or a policy that all the ministers, in fact, whoever it is, be it anybody who's representing the government, their kids should study only in municipal K-12 schools. And God forbid if something goes wrong, they should only visit government hospitals. That is where I truly believe that change will really happen. When they see their people going inside,
Yes.
and that's when they feel no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, your dreams are still valid.
Perfectly said.
That's very, see, also,
Experience and
if I
improve.
may,
This is what it is. So thank you so much, Pranay. It was actually a lovely talking.
if I may also add
Likewise.
one more point, you know, I think, you know, like, you know, just adding to what Pranay is saying, you know, I always feel that education, primary education, especially good primary education, should be available to all children throughout the country. And to some extent, it has to be standardized and it has to be of a certain quality, irrespective of which, you know, whether they're going to a school in a rural area or a private school or whatever it may be. What has happened currently in India is, you know, the standard of different schools are, private schools are, some of them are very expensive, and also they do things differently, and it's all over the place. So I think education, a good education system should be in place and should be available for everybody. And then it's up to each individual how they take that forward and how they make a life out of that, you know, and you know, how much they earn and what they do later on is really up to them. But a good education system should be available to everyone throughout the country. And that is the vision of NEP. So if that can be executed, I would say we'll do very well. Our country will do very well.
Exactly. So at
Thank you very much from UV.
or whatever, it's for everyone. Doesn't matter you are underpay or overpay. It should be equal for everyone. Then only we can improve the quality. Wow, Pranay, thank you so much. I think we can have the next session on this topic. It's really wonderful. So kindly consider it,
Thank you.
Manju.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So,
Thanks.
Bye. Bye, all of you. Thank you very much from UV Emerge.
Thank
Such
you.
a pleasure meeting you all. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Yes,
so much,
thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Priyanka.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so
Lovely
much for
being here.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.